What's up guys, welcome to Vintage Genetics, where it is all about classic bodybuilding. And today is a back day, and we all know that the back can never be big enough. It's a very big muscle group, and usually when you train a big muscle group it takes a bit longer to finish a back workout or a leg workout, for example, and you usually do an extra exercise compared to an arm workout or a shoulder workout or a chest workout, which are all smaller muscle groups. And when you train a big muscle group, it's easy to fall into a lot of mistakes, and in this video I'm going to try to explain to you what mistakes not to make and how to choose the right exercises. So for me, I want to work on the back thickness. And what does back thickness look like? It is having thick rhomboids, the middle back, the traps, also thicker lower lats, and the back width, which is another, version of the back you can work on, is how wide your back is, or the V taper, the V shape of your back, which of course is very classic. But I already happen to have a very wide back. So at least in comparison and relative to the back thickness. So what my goal is to work on that thickness. Now I am beginning the workout with a pull down movement, and most pull downs are working the back width. Especially when you're going all the way up, you can feel that stretch in the lats. That is what working the back width. But it's a small grip pull down, so when you go down, you're not keeping your back all the way straight, allowing you to actually contract those rhomboids and those lower lats really well, creating actually that Christmas tree as well at the very bottom. At least that's where I personally feel this exercise most. Everybody's different, so not everybody will feel the exact same contractions in the same places at certain exercises. But for me, when I compare this one to the lat pull down, it feels very different. So even though it is called a pull down, I like to call it a combination between a pull down and a row. I have also fixed my form on this exercise a bit. Of course, it won't be entirely straight, because then you have to have a balance in between your form, how strict you want it to be, and the actual contraction, the mind-muscle connection, the execution, the weight you're doing. Because if you work out with absolute perfect form, textbook form, then you might actually not make the gains that someone would make when they have a very great mind-muscle connection. So when I'm training like this, I really do feel the enormous stretch at the very top, so the full range of motion is very important, and you also have to go all the way down, meaning that grip has to hit your chest. If you're not able to let it hit your chest anymore, you should simply stop the set. Then it is no use anymore. Now, when you look at a few videos ago at my back workouts, my form used to be worse on this. I have to admit this. I'm not perfect, and a lot of bodybuilders, including myself, we like to go heavier and heavier. Sometimes that is logical, but other times you might want to fix your form first before aiming for a heavier weight, because otherwise you will neglect your form just to go heavier. That is not a mistake you want to make. We are bodybuilders after all. Yes, we do want to go heavier, but not at a cost of changing the form, because what the form is all about is that ensures you that you hit the muscle that you're supposed to hit. And that is where mind-muscle connection comes in as well. Now, this next exercise is also a combination between a pull down and a row, but I like to call it the high row, the chest supported high row with a plate loaded, so free weight basically. And what you're doing is you're using that chest pad to push yourself into it as you are pulling your elbows back. That allows you to shorten the back muscle even more. So when you're contracting a muscle, you're making it short, and the goal is to make it as short as you possibly can. Now, if I would go twice as heavy on this set right here, for example, I wouldn't be able to fully shorten the back, and at the same time would not be able to fully, attack those muscle fibers and thus not create muscle growth. So you are better off picking a lighter weight, allowing you to go through the full range of motion, and that will cause you to work all the ranges of where the muscle fibers can go, from short to long, and that has been proven to cause the most muscle growth, and it's the safest, it's the best for qualitative muscle. I really do believe if you use full range of motion all the time, you will have full, bulging muscles instead of those shorter, lower quality ones. Not sure if there's any science on it, but it's very hard to test someone, testing someone training for 10 years using half reps and someone training for 10 years with full range of motion reps, with the difference in muscle quality would be, as a lot of people have different assertions anyway. But enough about that. Here is my working set, and that means I am going to failure. So every feeder set beforehand is only to get acclimated to the final weight I'll be using at the working set, which is right here. And the nice thing about having a spotter, in this case my brother Kane, is it can actually help you go past failure. Now, on the first exercise of the workout, I don't want to go past failure yet, simply because of the fact it will take too much energy out of me, and that will disallow me to use that energy for the rest of the workouts. I do go to failure, but not past failure on the first movement. However, from the second movement onwards, I might go past failure a couple of times, depending on how I feel and how I am recovered from the last workout, etc. Sometimes I might only choose one movement to go past failure with. Sometimes I might do them almost all of them. It depends if I have a spotter or as I'm feeling, how I'm recovered, etc. So this is the second working set, and the difference here is that I chose a lighter weight. It allows me to do more reps with a clean form once again, because yes, I could have gone heavier, but my form would have been sloppy, and it would not have been a bodybuilding exercise. It would simply be about moving the weight from A to B. That's not what we want. We do want to move the weight from A to B, but using the muscle that we are intending to use, and in this case, it's the back. And this high row allows you to really contract those rhomboids, those middle back muscles for those back thickness. You can actually see it in my traps right there. When I contract the back, you can also see the traps contracting and filling with blood, which is what we want. When I started bodybuilding, I did use full range of motion, but because I was getting stronger so quickly, I was sometimes increasing the weight a little too quickly, allowing me, not to use all the muscles I could have used. So when I was getting started, I really trained the back width very well, because I always really stretched the lats out. But I never really properly contracted the whole back as I'm supposed to, because you can see me helping Kane right here. I'm pushing him into the shortest contraction the back can go, and that is the best way to train the back. So if you have a spotter with you, don't be afraid to first of all lower the weight, and then to ask him to help you. And usually when a spotter helps you, they might push you, up until a certain point, sometimes too hard, but that's also something you have to point out. Don't help too much, and don't push too little. You have to actually push quite far for the muscle to be properly shortened entirely. And, with practice, you will know exactly what that feels like, because if your spotter doesn't help you high enough or far enough or deep enough, you will notice you're not getting that full contraction you were getting in the previous few reps. So that is something to keep in mind. If you really want to go past failure, make sure that those reps are also qualitative weights. And this is a chest supported T-bar row. So we went from the chest supported high row to the chest supported T-bar row. Now the T-bar row is still one of the best movements there is. And actually, the old school T-bar row we all know from Arnold Schwarzenegger and Ronnie Coleman, etc. That's actually not where the T-bar row name came from, because this, if you look at the handle, if you look at the bar, that actually does form a T. So that is where the name actually comes from. So it's a wider grip, and despite Ronnie Coleman and Arnold both doing a narrow grip, it is better anatomically to actually use that wider grip. Now that might seem counterintuitive because the small grip just feels so very good, but don't get me wrong, the wide grip really ensures a greater contraction in the middle back. It allows for a greater range of motion when pulling back, and that's what you want if you want to develop the fullest, most muscular back possible. So sometimes it might not be the smartest idea to look at the most genetically gifted people on Earth, because if they do a back movement, it will develop regardless. But sometimes it's smart to also look at, the anatomical way the muscles work to ensure you're maximizing the exercise. In the case of a row, a wide grip would be better for full range of motion and back thickness compared to a small grip on a row like this. And you can also see here, Kane is helping me again, going past failure, going all the way up. And I also did a cluster set right there. So what I did is rest for about 30 seconds, 25 seconds in between sets, doing reps of 5. So I finished about 3 reps of 5, and then the last set Kane helped me a few reps. But that allowed me to go past failure in a different way, and it allowed me to do more reps than I could have done if I didn't have a break in between. That's a nice way to intensify the training again, apart from drop sets or pause reps, etc. And now it's time for a unilateral movement. We've only done movements with 2 arms by now, but in my opinion it's also very important to do a unilateral movement in pretty much any workout you do, no matter what muscle group it is. For chest, it could be, cable flies, even though it's at the same time, or dumbbell flies, it's still, a unilateral movement because both arms are working unilaterally. It's just that you're not alternating in between arms, even though that still would be possible. For the legs, it would be lunges, for example, or one-legged leg curls or leg extensions or leg presses. And for every muscle group you have exercises like this. But it allows you to identify weak points in your body, because when I notice that the right side is stronger than the left side, instead of always doing things with 2 arms, sometimes I might start with the left side first, allowing it to do the brunt of the force first, letting me know how many reps I can do, and then I make sure that the right side doesn't do more, so the strength is able to balance out in between 2 sides. That is a question I get a lot. How do I fix imbalances in my body? My right arm is bigger than my left arm. Well, that is the answer. Start with the weaker or smaller arm, and then match the reps with the stronger side, and that allows you to slowly and over time match the size and strength of both sides. Now, there might always be a small difference in between both sides, but that difference will be smaller and smaller and smaller the more you do unilateral work. Now, this movement also has a chest pad. Again, it's a chest, well, it's basically a stomach support at this point because I'm sitting quite high, because I really wanted to make this a low row, allowing me to hit those lower lats and still that middle back a little bit, because that really is a target of this workout. And what the chest pad allows me to do is I push against the chest pad, and it allows me to pull back my arm even more, pretty much wrapping my lats around my spine, because that is the natural motion of the back. It's not going straight back and forth, but it's actually going first forward, and then when you're going backwards, it's actually going around your spine, because that's where a lot of the back muscles are attached. So you want to bring them back to that origin point, making them as short as possible, as I mentioned before, and that will cause most muscle growth where you normally would not experience it, because normally you would not shorten the muscle that short, and that is, trust me, what you need to do for maximum growth. So back in the day I used to go a lot heavier on this movement, but now I go lighter, allowing me to use that full range of motion. And then it is time for some face pulls, and they are very important to finish off those rear delts. I always give this advice and I won't stop giving it. When you train the back, you might as well finish off those rear delts, because those are already hit during a lot of the rowing movements you do automatically, but they're still not fully pumped up. You haven't really reached a peak contraction on specifically those, so doing an exercise specifically for them, just one exercise, going to failure on the last set of it, doing a drop set like right here, hitting some high volume work on it, will be enough to make that small muscle grow. If you train back twice a week, you already hit those rear delts twice a week. And in my opinion, you then don't have to hit a separate shoulder day to hit them again. It saves you a whole day. Unless, of course, you love training shoulders on their own day, then of course that's up to you. But in my opinion, if you want to be a more efficient bodybuilder, you train the side delts on chest, the rear delts on back, and the front delts. Well, you don't really have to hit them, because you already automatically train them on a chest day. But anyway, after all those back movements, it's time to finish off the biceps as well. We're going to do 2 exercises for it, because I do have a separate arm day, because I want to specifically increase the size of my arms, just like those old school bodybuilders used to have. You know, arms can never really be big enough. So this is a close grip preacher curl, and it makes sure that I hit the bicep peak. So I always go all the way up as well, ensuring I really hit that peak contraction, making the bicep as short as I can possibly make it. And then again, Kane is helping me going past failure with a couple of reps, allowing me to really hit those biceps as hard as possible for maximum bicep growth. So when you have a spotter on curls like this, it is really nice to have someone help you go past failure here, because sometimes you do a couple of reps and you simply stop. Even though you didn't really see it coming, the oxygen levels, you know, the glycogen levels in that muscle locally are then all of a sudden too low to hit that load, but there's still some left, and you can squeeze it out by doing forced reps, you know, beyond failure like this right here. And then also when you're helping, go up nice and high, allowing those biceps to fully contract. And again, we're using the preacher bench to do some preacher hammer curls. Now, the benefit of a preacher bench is that you also have tension on the very bottom. So it creates an angle in the arm that allows for tension throughout the whole range of motion. Just imagine standing up doing this exercise. If you fully lower your arm, where's the tension then? There is none, at least not on the biceps, and that's where you actually want it. So if you look at my bicep closely, you can see that even when I'm going all the way down, the tension is still there. And just like the previous movement, I'm also going past failure here. Now also, I'm not using ridiculous weights when I'm going past failure. Normally I do this on the lighter movements, because in my opinion, if you're going really heavy, you're only hitting like 6 super heavy reps on a dangerous exercise, potentially dangerous exercise, then it might actually make it more dangerous to go past failure then. So in my opinion, going past failure on a safe or lighter movement like this is a very nice way to hit that muscle group in an even bigger and better way than just going to failure. And I've always trained past failure for my arms and my biceps. That has always worked. It's very hard to overtrain on the arms in my opinion, because your body is used to, you know, utilizing them every single day, especially the forearms, for example. So another question a lot of people ask, how do I train the forearms? How do I make them bigger? Well, doing hammer curls will make that top part of the forearm bigger and thicker for sure. but you do have to make sure that the dumbbell and your wrist is stacked straight onto your forearm, because that allows the forearm to actually be engaged the whole time, so it's isometrically contracted the whole time, and that allows for muscle growth and a great pump and nutrient delivery into those forearms. So anyway guys, that was the back, rear delt and bicep workout for today. Hope you learned something, and I have a lot more videos to come since I'm about 9 to 10 weeks out. Well, in this video I was about 13 weeks out, but I want to do a video each week telling you guys what I've done, how I'm feeling, what went right, but also what went wrong, because every single prep something does go wrong and something doesn't really go according to plan. And I'm also going to show you, of course, how my diet is changing, how my shape is changing. That's what I'm planning to do, and really, tell you guys and take you guys along with me, along with the ride of the Mr. Olympia prep. Anyway guys, again, thank you for watching, and don't forget to stay golden.